Don't accept the challenges that life throws at you. Embrace them, because you never know where they may take you. I did what most of you have done, are going to do. I went to university, studied really hard, got a good job. In the eyes of many people, I was a success. But life has a knack of throwing these curveballs at you when you least expect. I actually wasn't very happy. Now don't get me wrong, it's not like I was depressed or suicidal. It's not like I was ungrateful for the opportunities I had been given. It's just that I wasn't sure if this was how I wanted to spend the rest of my life. However, I ignored my heart and followed my head. I continued to work hard, continued to study and get through difficult exams and trials. Life got even better. The journey continued. My firm sent me from Johannesburg to London. In London, I had a nice flashy apartment. I worked in bigger offices, I had a better title. And then the financial crisis hit. So there I was in London, 2007, and firstly in a job that I'm not very happy doing, and also having to deal with the financial crisis. I had a blog where I shared some of my experiences and insights, and people back home in South Africa wanted to know what was going on. I was in a good position to inform and help them figure out the financial crisis. What went on to become a devastating financial crisis around the world was actually for me an opportunity to realize that I had a passion, that I enjoyed finding out about something and then informing others about it. While I was in London, I attended many talks, went for many events. I became very environmentally conscious. I stopped eating meat. I decided to follow my heart for once and travel. I decided to travel from London to Johannesburg by rail. So starting off, I took a train from London to Paris, where I met with Palestinian activists and spent a week organizing a rally, painting posters. From there, I met with a friend in The Hague. I visited Amsterdam, where I made new friends. In Berlin, I met with soy farmers from Paraguay who were lobbying against genetically modified seeds. I continued to travel. I visited Munich, Geneva, Milan, Venice. I spent 3 months traveling Europe, seeing new places, meeting new people. Eventually, I took a ferry from Italy down to Greece. From Greece, I took a train to Turkey. In Istanbul, I joined a famous artist and took art classes. My money was running out, but I continued my journey south. From Istanbul to Konya, home of Mevlana Rumi, meant to be a very spiritual place, but I didn't find any spirituality there. I couldn't continue my journey. I took a train to Syria, but the train never got there. It stopped at a town near the border. So from there, I took a taxi to the border. It stopped nearby. The taxi driver dropped me off, and I walked from Turkey to Syria. Literally walked for hours. It was an interesting experience. I walked through no man's land, passing an abandoned mosque. Eventually, I got to Syria, where after paying some official fees, I got through the border and found myself in Aleppo. By now, my money was running low. I made friends with a guy who ran a hostel in Aleppo and convinced him to let me spend the night on his roof. It was amazing. I ended up spending a week there. So although I had left London, setting out to reach Johannesburg by land, I was in Damascus, and my money had pretty much run out. However, it wasn't a bad problem to have in Damascus. Damascus was an amazing city. I started teaching English, and with that, I made enough money to live comfortably and study Arabic. So although I couldn't finish my journey, at least now I was equipping myself with a new language. From there, I went to Jerusalem. By now, my journey had changed course. I decided to go on Hajj. After spending a few days in Jerusalem in the West Bank, I went and I put on the white robes and spent a good few days only dressed in 2 pieces of white cloth, walking through the dusty desert from Mina to Arafat and back. You get really dirty when you do that. So after that experience, when I took a shower, I felt all this dirt, not just felt, but I saw all this dirt flowing off my body. For me, that was a very spiritual experience. And I headed back home with a refreshed outlook and perspective on life. I flew back to South Africa, where I took 2 huge steps. Hanging up my corporate hat for the final time, I went back to university, but I also got married. Now that's something some people are not happy with, because you don't get married when when you're broke, when you're jobless, and when you're a student. It goes against social norms. But life was good. I studied business journalism, and with my years of work experience, I applied for a job as business journalist at Al Jazeera. In the 6 months it took them to process my work permit and my visa, by the time I reached Doha, that job no longer existed. So here I was in a new country. I looked around. There was another position available for me at Al Jazeera. I joined the online team, where we got to using social media, experimenting with new technologies. I was part of a team doing really cool journalism, so that when the Arab protests started in December 2010, we were in a good position to hit the ground running and do a good job of covering it. Many journalists from around the world would have given a lot to be there in the Al Jazeera newsroom. Here, where I am now, life is good. I'm enjoying my job. I'm getting ready for the next unfortunate event that life throws at me. And I can't wait. Thank you.